Hey, it's the Nerdy Sports Fan, and we're continuing our series of breaking down team schedules and coming up with win-loss predictions. Now, we're getting down to the wire here. The last few teams wrapping up in the NFC South, and let's get into these New Orleans Saints. Woo! Man, so you have to have quite the roster to only have 4 draft picks. Either that or just a madman at GM. So not a heck of a lot of change in the draft. Not a heck of a lot of change in free agency. None of that needed to happen. Okay? The Saints have one of the best rosters in the league. Top 5. Easily. You can make an argument for it being number 1. You can make an argument for any of the top 5 being number 1, but either way, they are built to win now. They are built to take advantage of the last few years of Drew Brees' career and bring home another ring. And I would love to see it. I really would. I think Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever had the pleasure to watch. I think this is a really good time for quarterbacks in general. And watching his career from one end to the other has been special. And what he's done for the city of New Orleans deserves another ride into glory. It really does. Another parade down Bourbon Street. Man, I mean, you don't have enough of those, right? Anyways, let's dig into it here. Week 1, Buccaneers. You're getting them at home. They've had a lot of roster turnover. I understand they're far better now with Tom Brady as opposed to Jameis Winston. Does not matter. That lack of consistency is going to give the Saints a serious edge in that Week 1 matchup, especially since you're getting them at home. That's a win. All right, so I should also say that the way this works is we definitely have guaranteed wins thought out, guaranteed losses thought out. There are going to be a handful of games that are in more of a toss-up category, though, because parity exists in this league, and the Any Given Sunday rule is really fun, isn't it? Either way, at the end of the breakdown, we'll divide up those toss-up games based off of strength of schedule, and that's how we get our record prediction. So, moving on, Week 2 at the Raiders. That's a win. Okay, the Raiders are seriously a much improved team. They're not improved to the point where they're competing with the Saints. Nowhere near, in fact. So I think that's a W. It's going to be a lesson for that budding, dynamic offense there in Las Vegas. They're going to be tough next year. But this year, a veteran team ready to win right now is going to be able to handle that. All right, so Packers in Week 3. You're getting them at home, sure, but I'm never going to call an Aaron Rodgers-led Packers team out of it. Okay? For 2 reasons in this specific game, though. One, the Aaron Rodgers versus Brees factor is going to have both of them really charged for this game. But 2, they are now building that roster to mirror what's going on in San Francisco. And if we remember last year, one of the teams that gave the Saints a problem was San Francisco. So, combining the San Francisco-ish roster with the Rodgers factor, and just knowing that Rodgers is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, I think there's enough for the Packers to think you can't necessarily guarantee that win. It's going to be a fight. All right, so at the Lions, that's a win. So the Lions are in a weird spot this year. Matt Patricia is definitely not a long-term coach. I thought he should have been fired this past offseason, and he's going to be middling at best. They definitely improved that offense. The defense is still a damn tire fire, though. Like they got one good defensive back this offseason? You know, and he's a rookie. So much of a problem that defense was, and it's just not going to be able to contain this Saints offense. And the Saints defense is actually pretty damn strong. So you're going to be able to contain their offense, even in a road game like this. So that's a W. All right, so moving on to Week 5, Chargers. You're getting them at home, and that's a win. So the Chargers are a defense-first team right now, and Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback is a protect the football guy. Yes, he's a really fun running talent, but that's not really his game. His game is pocket pass first. Protect the football first. He does not take risks throwing the ball. He only runs when he actually needs to run. He's capable of breaking off seriously big plays when he does run. But I just think the dynamic of that team is a bit askew right now because of the drafting of the rookie quarterback. People are going to be questioning Tyrod Taylor's legitimacy as the starter the entire time he's the starting quarterback. And at some point, they are going to replace him with Herbert. It's just a matter of when. And those questions looming over Tyrod is going to affect the entire locker room and make it so it's really not likely that they come into a serious playoff contenders stadium and beat them. So, that's a win. All right, now, bye week in week 6, and that is just bullshit. All right? A legitimate playoff contention team, deep run playoff team in the Saints gets a week 6 bye, and the damn Buccaneers are getting week 13. Fuck that. Garbage. Either way, week 7, Panthers. That's a win. All right, the Panthers are really bad this year. They have so many moving parts on that team. It's going to be impossible for them to have any sort of cohesion early. And man, they were a top 10 draft pick for a reason, okay? They were bad last year. They had Christian McCaffrey, who's a fantastic talent. One of the top 3 running backs in the league, for certain. But they don't have much else around him, okay? And with all of the change, especially the new coach, the new quarterback, those big pieces moving, They don't have enough time with one another to compete with serious playoff teams. So, it'll be pretty easy against the Panthers. All right, week 8 at the Bears. That's another W. So, Mitchell Trubisky is going to be playing himself out of the league this year. His coach is going to be desperate. Maybe after this week. Once they get towards that week 10, week 12 area, there's going to be serious questions about the legitimacy of the front office, the quarterback, and the coach there in Chicago. Because, really, they were bad. Bad. After Vic Fangio left and that defense took a serious step back. So, the offense is not what it needs to be with Trubisky to carry that team, and the defense isn't what it used to be a few years ago. So that's going to be a pretty easy win. All right. At the Buccaneers, toss-up game. Okay, you're now at a point in the season where I expect the Buccaneers to be gelling together. Veterans figure things out. Okay, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski will figure out some serious chemistry with that team. And by now, especially as a road game, the Buccaneers are going to be dangerous. This is not a team you can overlook. This defense was fantastic against the run. They were bad against the pass early last year. They got better as the year went on, and they made some moves to address that defensive secondary to make me think it's going to be better. Is it going to be great? No. They're not stopping Michael Thomas. Okay? He's just not going to have his way with them. And Kamara is really just going to be a passing threat out of the backfield. That run defense is scary there in Tampa. So this is going to be a tough game. The second game against Tampa in their stadium is going to be hard fought. All right. Now we're moving on to the 49ers. Week 10. Toss-up game. Okay, this was so close last year. So close. It was a game of the year candidate. And it's going to be again. Okay, the 49ers are a tough motherfucker of a team. They are much more defense-centric than the New Orleans Saints are. And this is going to be a bit of a revenge game for Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, they could have paid him there in San Francisco. They decided not to. They decided to instead draft his replacement. So Emmanuel, now playing with Drew Brees throwing him the ball, is going to have serious incentive to be up for this game and just really take it to the Niners. That is going to be the most interesting storyline for me But this is going to be a great game to watch. Just like it was last year. Again, game of the year candidate here. I've got it circled on my calendar. All right. Week 11. You get the Falcons at home. That's a win. Okay, the Falcons are getting progressively worse the further away they get from Kyle Shanahan being their offensive coordinator. Every year since then, they've been a bit worse. I see that trend continuing. Now they're depending on Todd Gurley with his arthritic knees, who's been progressively worse for 3 years now. I don't see that trend stopping either. I just see this offense relying too much on veteran pieces that have been good whatever offensive scheme that they've played in Julio Jones and Matt Ryan. And they don't have enough surrounding them. The defense that Dan Quinn has brought to the table has been trash. And he's supposed to be a defensive guru. So, no, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. So, they're definitely not going to have a chance against you at home. All right, at the Broncos, that's a win. The Broncos are better? Sure, doesn't matter. They're not in the league of these top elite teams like the Saints are. So, not even really worth talking about. All right, so at the Falcons becomes a bit of a toss-up game. You're now at a point where you can start to overlook them and start to think about playoffs, start to think about the stronger teams you're going against, and a road game against a team that knows you pretty well, where you have a chance to overlook them, is a dangerous spot. Do I think the Falcons are guaranteed to beat you in that week? No, absolutely not. They have no real talent on that team, and the coaching is terrible. But there's enough of that overlooking them factor there to make me think that this is a game that you have a serious chance of losing. So that's a toss-up. All right, at the Eagles is a toss-up for exactly the opposite reason. They're actually a legitimate team. They're a serious offensive powerhouse. They have some questions on their offensive line for certain, but that wide receiver core has so much speed. They might be fixing their protection scheme by making it so they can get the ball out of Wentz's hands much faster than they did before. He's improving as a quarterback. His decision-making is getting faster, and last year, he played the whole season. He got hurt in the playoffs, though, so he's still recovering from an injury like usual. But, yeah, as long as Carson Wentz is healthy, they have a serious chance of beating you. They're not a lock to beat you, because they have question marks on that roster for certain, both on defense and the offensive line, but they have a serious chance at winning that game. Now, Chiefs, you're getting them at home, which is a good thing, but it's still just a toss-up at best. I mean, now we're talking top 5 NFL team versus top 5 NFL team. That's a great game. This is yet another game of the year candidate, okay? The Chiefs versus Saints is going to be a damn pinball machine lighting up the scoreboard. It is going to be... It's going to be nuts. Okay, you have Patrick Mahomes, career building. Drew Brees, career kind of coming down. Meeting here for us to watch the majesty that is Sean Payton's offense played at its peak performance, going against Andy Reid's offense playing at its peak performance. Both defenses are solid, not great, but solid units. Neither one of them is actually going to have a chance to stop the other team. It's just a matter of slowing them down. So, which defense is more effective at doing that is going to be the winning factor here. And it's just going to be a show. I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun watching that, and I'm sure you are too. But again, toss-up game. All right, so Vikings. This is a toss-up game. They're built very differently than the Chiefs. They're a run-first team. They have the very interesting zone-blocking Shanahan West Coast offense that everybody says is outdated and just a dinosaur, but it always works. Okay? And as long as Dalvin Cook is healthy, they'll be able to run that offense effectively against almost anybody. And they will be able to keep pace with the score, but do it through the ground. which will make your defense tired as the game wears on. That's going to be very interesting to deal with. I don't think the Vikings are going to be out of it against anybody. And this is a team that has throttled you in the playoffs. Okay, you got a score to settle with this team. There's a lot of ins and outs to this one. There's a serious chance the Vikings can beat you, but they're not just going to walk into your house and hang an L on you. No. This is going to be a very, very, very competitive game. This is playoff mode now. Okay? This is for playoff seeding. This game right here determines which one of these teams is going to be playing at home in round 2, in my mind. So, moving on, we have Week 17 at the Panthers. This is a win because you are in contention for playoff seeding. You're starting everybody in this game. There's a serious chance that you get the number 1 spot. There's a serious chance you go down to the number 4 spot. You need that win. Now, it's an easy one because it's the Panthers, but you still need it, so you can't rest your starters. And with a veteran squad, that could mean something. Now, if you're paying attention, the games that I think are an absolute lock, one way or another, you're 9-0. I don't think there's a single game that you are guaranteed to lose in this season. You can't say that with the Saints team. Dividing the remaining games based off of strength of schedule, you're 12-4. Now that is for sure winning the division. Might be enough for that first round bye. Might not. Depends on how Seattle does. It really does. I think you get a chance at the number 1 or number 2 spot. A serious chance at it. Depending on how that Vikings game goes, it could be as far down as the number 4 spot. So you could be hosting a wild card weekend game. You really want that first round bye, especially with the veteran quarterback and Breeze. You want rest for this team. You want a legitimate playoff run, and not having to play that first week of the playoffs is the easiest way to do it. Brady did it for years, all right? So the first round bye matters a lot, and that's what you're playing for this year. So let me know what you guys think, all right? Hit me up in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you are a fan of the more nerdy content, the video games and stuff, that's all getting moved to the Nerd E Sports Fan channel. I know, creative, right? And don't forget about me on Patreon this year. So, I'm seriously ramping up the fantasy coverage for Patreon. If you need help setting your draft order before your fantasy draft, if you need help setting your lineup on a week-to-week basis, or if you want to do a watch-along with me as the season goes on, that's the spot for it. Hit me up. Thanks for watching, guys.